What would you do if the person hunting you showed up at the one place you thought was safe? The champagne glass trembled in Amara Sinclair's hand. Her fingers had gone cold the moment she spotted him. Victor Crane, cutting through the crowd like a shark scenting blood. She'd been hiding for 3 weeks, sleeping on her best friend Simone's couch in Silver Lake, dodging calls, praying for a miracle that never came. $50,000. That number haunted her every waking moment. Tonight was supposed to be different. The Children's Hospital charity auction at the Getty Center was her sanctuary, a place where predators like Victor didn't belong, where she could pretend, just for one evening, that her life wasn't falling apart. But Victor had found her anyway. His designer tuxedo couldn't hide what he really was. His smile, cold, calculating, sent ice through her veins as he moved closer. "Miss Sinclair," his voice slithered across her name. "We need to discuss your outstanding obligation." Amara's breath seized. The chandeliers blazed too bright. The string quartet played too loud. She stepped backward, her heel catching the edge of a display pedestal. She was going to fall, going to humiliate herself in front of everyone. Then strong hands caught her from behind. "Is there a problem here?" The voice was smooth, accented, laced with quiet authority. Amara turned and found herself staring into the darkest eyes she'd ever seen. The man who'd steadied her was devastatingly handsome. Sharp jawline, immaculately styled black hair, a presence that seemed to bend the entire room around him. When he looked at Victor, something predatory flickered in those obsidian depths. "Mr. Park," Victor's confidence cracked. "I wasn't aware you'd be attending." "Obviously." The stranger, Park, kept his hand on Amara's elbow, possessive, protective. "You were saying something about an obligation? Now here's what I need you to understand." Amara didn't know this man, had never seen him before tonight, but the way Park retreated half a step told her everything. Whoever Park was, he terrified the man who'd been terrorizing her. "Just a private business matter," Victor said carefully. "Nothing that concerns you." "Everything at this auction concerns me." Park's tone stayed casual, but steel ran beneath. "I'm considering a substantial acquisition from Miss Sinclair's collection. I'd hate for any unpleasantness to disrupt the evening." Collection? Amara owned nothing except student loans and her mother's vintage bracelet. But something in Park's grip told her to stay quiet, to follow whatever script he was writing. Victor's jaw tightened. "We can discuss this another time, Miss Sinclair." He melted back into the crowd, but not before shooting her a look that promised violence, postponed, not canceled. Amara's knees nearly buckled. "Thank you," she whispered, pulling free. "Who was he to you?" "Nobody important." Park's gaze tracked Victor's retreat. "But he clearly matters to you. Why is a museum appraiser being harassed by one of the Petrov Syndicate's most persistent collectors?" Her blood went cold. "You know him?" "I know what he is." He plucked 2 champagne flutes from a passing server. "A predator who feeds on desperation." Have you ever felt trapped by a decision you made when you were desperate? Comment below. I want to hear your story. "How much do you owe him?" Park asked. "None of your concern." 50,000, perhaps more with interest? Her silence confirmed everything. And what he said next, it changed everything. "My father had a stroke." The words tumbled out before Amara could stop them. Maybe it was exhaustion, maybe desperation, but suddenly she was telling this stranger everything. Emergency treatment, rehabilitation, no insurance. She stared at her champagne. "I was desperate and stupid. I went to the wrong people for help. And now Victor Crane believes he owns you." "Nobody owns me." The words came out fierce, defiant. "I'll pay him back. I just need time." Park studied her with unreadable eyes. Around them, wealthy patrons admired priceless art. Champagne flowed, music swelled. But in their small bubble, the world had narrowed to just the 2 of them. "What's your name?" he asked. "Amara. Amara Sinclair." "Well, Amara Sinclair." He set down his glass with deliberate care. "I'm going to make you an offer." Her guard went up immediately. "I need someone who understands Asian art. someone who can navigate these circles without drawing attention, someone who needs money and has motivation to be discreet. I'm not sleeping with you. His eyebrow arched. I'm not asking you to. I'm offering you a job. Doing what exactly? My import business deals in high-end Korean and Japanese antiques. I need an American consultant who can authenticate pieces, help me navigate the California art scene, attend events like this as my associate. Amara's mind spun. This was insane. She didn't know this man, didn't trust the way he'd appeared exactly when she needed rescuing. Why me? Because you're intelligent enough to recognize quality. He gestured at the exhibit around them. Desperate enough to consider unconventional solutions, and brave enough to challenge me despite clearly being terrified. I'm not terrified of you. You should be. The words were soft, almost gentle. That's what makes you interesting. If you're watching this, and you've ever had to choose between safety and survival, you already know what Amara was feeling. Subscribe now, because what happens next is something you won't want to miss. Something dark flickered across his face, something complicated. But Amara's instincts screamed warnings. Men like Park didn't rescue strangers out of kindness. There were strings she couldn't yet see. But when she spotted Victor watching from across the room, his expression promising violence, her options crystallized. One condition, she said. Name it. If I discover you've lied about what this job involves, if you try to force me into anything illegal, I walk away, no consequences. He extended his hand. You have my word. The word of a stranger. The word of Park Jayson. In certain circles, that carries more weight than any contract. Amara's hand trembled as she reached for his. The moment their palms touched, electricity sparked between them, something primal, something dangerous that had nothing to do with business, and everything to do with the way he looked at her. Like she was a puzzle he intended to solve. Like she was something he just claimed. But the real question, the one that would haunt her, was simple. Had she just saved herself? Or had she walked straight into something far more dangerous than Victor Crane could ever be?
Victor will approach you again tonight, Jayson said. His hand still held hers. So here's what happens now. Amara's pulse quickened. What do you mean? Stay close to me. Let him see you're under my protection. His voice dropped. Let everyone see. Before she could process his words, he'd pulled her close. One arm slid around her waist. His other hand captured hers as he swept her into an elegant waltz. The orchestra had shifted to something romantic. And suddenly, they were gliding across the auction floor like they'd been partners for years. What are you— Shh! His breath stirred her hair. You're supposed to look captivated, not panicked. Smile. Laugh at something I've said. This is insane. This is survival. His hand pressed against the small of her back. Watch. He guided her into a turn. And there was Victor, frozen near the exit with two large men flanking him. His expression had shifted from predatory confidence to genuine uncertainty. Around them, whispers rippled through the crowd as guests recognized Park Jae-sun and wondered about the beautiful black woman in his arms. They're staring, Amara breathed. Good. Jae-sun dipped his head close to her ear. By tomorrow morning, everyone in Los Angeles' underworld will know Amara Sinclair is under Park Jae-sun's protection. Victor won't touch you. His bosses won't permit it. Why would they care what you think? His laugh was dark, rich. Because I'm not just an antique dealer, Amara. Her heart stopped. I'm the head of the Park family. In certain circles, that makes me untouchable. The truth sank in slowly, terrifyingly. This wasn't a businessman who'd rescued her out of kindness. This was something else entirely, something dangerous in ways she couldn't yet comprehend. You're— Yes. His eyes met hers unflinching. So the question becomes, are you brave enough to stay in my arms, or would you rather take your chances with Victor Crane? Some people would call what Amara did next reckless. Others would call it survival. What would you call it? Drop your answer in the comments. She looked over Jayson's shoulder. Victor was retreating toward the exit now.
defeat written in every line of his posture. Then she looked back at the man holding her, the stranger who'd appeared from nowhere and changed everything in a single evening. "I'm not afraid of you." His smile was devastating. "Not yet." The music swelled. Jayson spun her across the floor, and Amara realized with terrifying clarity that she'd just made a deal with someone far more dangerous than Victor Crane could ever be. The real question wasn't whether she'd survive. It was whether she'd survive long enough to regret it. And if you think that was intense, wait until you see what Victor does next, because he wasn't about to let her go that easily. Not even close. Amara's Venice Beach apartment had never felt smaller. With Park Jae-sun standing in her cramped living room, his expensive presence made everything look like it belonged in a thrift store. The second-hand couch, the peeling paint, the kitchen counter that doubled as her dining table. He examined her door lock with visible disdain. "This won't work," he said flatly. "Victor knows where you live." "I can't just leave." Amara dropped her purse on the counter. "My lease is irrelevant." He pulled out his phone, typing rapidly in Korean. "Woojin will arrange movers tomorrow. You'll stay at one of my properties until we've resolved the Victor situation." "Excuse me?" Heat flooded her cheeks. "I didn't agree to move in with you." "You're not moving in with me." His tone stayed patient, almost amused. "You're moving into a secure apartment I own in Koreatown. 2 bedrooms, full security, close to the museum so you can maintain your day job." He pocketed his phone. Those dark eyes pinned her in place. "Unless you'd prefer I tell Victor Crane exactly where to find you." "You're blackmailing me." "I'm protecting you. There's a difference." "Is there?" Something flickered across his face. Surprise, maybe, or respect. "Most people don't question me," he said quietly. "I'm not most people." "No." His gaze traveled over her slowly, deliberately. "You're definitely not." Have you ever met someone who terrified you and fascinated you at the same time? That's exactly where Amara was, and honestly, she didn't know which feeling was stronger. His phone buzzed. When he checked the screen, his entire demeanor shifted. "Victor's people are watching your building." His voice went cold. "What? How do you—" "I have eyes everywhere in this city." He was already moving toward her bedroom. "Pack essentials. 5 minutes. Everything else can be replaced." "I can't just—" "Amara," he turned. The command in his voice froze her in place. "I understand this is happening fast. I understand you don't trust me. But right now you have 2 choices. Come with me willingly, or stay here and deal with Victor's collectors alone." Through her window, she spotted a dark sedan parked across the street. 2 men sat inside, their attention fixed on her apartment. Her stomach dropped. 5 minutes later, they were taking the fire escape down 3 floors. Jayson moved with a grace that suggested he'd done this before, many times. A sleek black Tesla waited in the alley. A man who must be Woojin held the door open. Sharp features, calculating eyes, a visible shoulder holster under his jacket. "Boss," Woojin nodded to Jayson, then assessed Amara with unsettling intensity. "Is this her?" "This is Amara Sinclair. She'll be staying at the Wilshire property, full security detail." Inside the car, Amara watched her building disappear behind them, her life as she'd known it, vanishing with every block they traveled. "Your friend Woojin," she said finally. "How long have you known him?" "Since childhood in Seoul. He's the only person I trust completely." "And now you're trusting me?" "I'm paying you. That's different." But his tone softened. "Though I'm beginning to think you might be worth trusting, Amara Sinclair." His hand found hers in the darkness of the car. "I don't make moves without understanding every piece on the board, and you're becoming a very interesting piece." "What if I don't want to be a piece on your board?" "Then you'll be the first person to successfully resist me, and that makes me want to keep you close." The Koreatown apartment was stunning, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, modern furniture worth more than her yearly salary. But as Amara stood in that beautiful prison, one question haunted her. What exactly had she gotten herself into? If you're still not subscribed, I have to ask, what's holding you back? Because the next part of this story, it's about to get personal. Security code is 0923. Jayson stood by the door watching her take in the apartment. "Don't share it with anyone." Not even Simone. Amara turned to face him. So I'm a prisoner here? You're protected here. You keep saying that, she crossed her arms. I'm not sure I believe it anymore. For a long moment, he was silent. Then he crossed to the window, his silhouette backlit by the city lights below. My father was killed when I was 16. The words hit her like a punch. Rival organization. His voice stayed flat, controlled. They shot him in the street like a dog while I watched from across the road. I was powerless, too young, too weak, too unprepared to protect what mattered. Amara's breath caught. Jayson. He swore I'd never be powerless again. He turned to face her. Something raw flickered in his expression. That I'd never watched someone under my protection suffer because I wasn't strong enough, wasn't ruthless enough. Is that what I am? Someone under your protection? Yes. Why? The question burst out before she could stop it. You still haven't really told me. Why do you care what happens to some museum appraiser you met at an auction? He moved toward her, slowly, deliberately. Because when I saw you standing there with Victor approaching, something in your expression reminded me of my mother, the day my father died. Terrified, but defiant. Vulnerable, but refusing to break. His hand came up, cupped her cheek with devastating gentleness. I couldn't walk away from that. Couldn't watch another woman face that kind of fear alone. So this is about your mother? This is about choosing who I want to be. His thumb brushed across her cheekbone. In my world, you become what you have to become to survive. Hard, cold, ruthless. But every once in a while, you get a chance to be something else. Someone better. His eyes searched hers. Maybe you're my chance. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever met someone who made you see yourself differently? Someone who made you want to be better than you were? That's what was happening here, and neither of them saw it coming. I don't want to be anyone's redemption arc, Amara whispered. Good. I don't want to be redeemed. His smile was slight, self-deprecating. Just maybe less alone. Before she could respond, his phone buzzed. He stepped back, checking the screen with a frown. Problem? Always. He typed a rapid response. Victor's bosses are pushing back. They want compensation for losing your debt. How much? $75,000 plus interest. Her stomach dropped. That's more than I owed. That's the price of disrespecting them by accepting my protection. His expression hardened. Don't worry, I'll handle it. How? Better you don't know the details. That's not acceptable. She stepped toward him. If people are going to get hurt because of me, people get hurt regardless. This is my world. But his eyes softened when he saw her distress. No one will die, Amara. I'm not looking for conflict. Just leverage. He headed for the door, then paused. Get some rest. Tomorrow we start your real training. Training for what? Surviving in my world. Understanding the players. Learning how to move through these circles without attracting the wrong kind of attention. He met her eyes one final time. And Amara? Trust that I won't let anyone hurt you. After he left, she stood alone in that silent apartment. Mind spinning. Heart racing. Because somewhere beneath the fear, she'd felt something else when he touched her face. Something that scared her more than Victor Crane ever could. Subscribe now. Because what Victor does next, it's going to change everything. 3 weeks. That's how long Amara's new life lasted before everything shattered. She'd settled into an unexpected rhythm with Jayson, authenticating antiques in his private office, attending gallery events at his side, learning to navigate the complex world of Los Angeles' elite. They hadn't crossed any lines, hadn't kissed beyond that press of lips to her knuckles, but the tension between them had become almost unbearable. Late-night conversations that stretched until dawn, casual touches that lingered too long. Something was building, something dangerous. And then Woo Jin burst through the office door. Boss. His face was grim. We have a situation. Victor didn't back off like we expected. He's escalating. Jayson's demeanor shifted instantly. Gentle to lethal in a heartbeat. Explain. Victor grabbed Amara's sister. Has her at his warehouse in Long Beach. Woo Jin's jaw tightened. He's demanding Amara in exchange. The room tilted. Amara's legs nearly gave out beneath her. Zoe? The name came out strangled. He has Zoe? 30 minutes ago, snatched outside her UCLA dorm. No. Jayson's voice was absolute, steel wrapped in ice. Amara is not going anywhere. She's my sister. Amara grabbed Woojin's arm. I have to go. I have to. You're not going anywhere. Jayson caught her shoulders, forced her to meet his eyes. That's exactly what Victor wants. He can't reach you here, so he's using Zoe as bait. I don't care. Tears burned her vision. He has my baby sister, and I will get her back. The absolute certainty in his voice cut through her panic. But I don't give him what he wants. We do this my way, Amara. Trust me. How can I trust you and my sister? Because I'm going to make Victor regret the day he touched anyone you love. His eyes had gone cold, dangerous in a way she'd never seen before. Woojin, mobilize everyone. We're going to Long Beach. Boss, if we move on Petrov territory, then we move on Petrov territory. Jayson's grip on Amara's shoulders tightened. They violated the agreement. They took family. That means consequences. What would you do if someone you loved was taken because of your choices? Think about that. Really think. Because that's exactly where Amara was standing. I can't let you start a war over me, she whispered. You're not letting me do anything. I'm choosing this. He pulled her close, his forehead pressed against hers. I'm choosing you, Amara, your sister, your family, over peace, over alliances, over everything. Jayson, no arguments. He kissed her forehead, quick, possessive. I'll bring Zoe back, I promise you that, but I need to know you're safe while I do it. I can't just sit here. Yes, you can, because if anything happened to you while I was trying to save your sister, his voice dropped to something dangerous, intimate. I'd burn this entire city down, and I don't think you want that on your conscience. His thumb brushed across her cheek, catching the tears she hadn't realized were falling. So be brave for me one more time. Stay here. Trust me. Let me protect you. Amara wanted to argue, to insist on coming, to do something other than wait helplessly while her sister's life hung in the balance. But the determination in Jayson's eyes stopped her. This was who he was. Protector, warrior, a man who kept his promises no matter the cost. Bring her back safe, she whispered. I will. I swear it. And then he was gone, Woojin behind him, leaving Amara alone in that apartment with nothing but her fear and her faith that she'd chosen the right person to trust with her sister's life. The hours that followed would be the longest of her existence. And what happened in that warehouse? Let's just say Victor Crane made the last mistake of his life. But you'll have to wait to hear how. The hours crawled by like years. Amara paced the apartment until her legs ached. Her new phone, the one Jayson had given her, stayed clutched in her hand. She tried calling him. No answer. Woojin? No answer. Even the emergency number went straight to voicemail. Simone called twice. Amara couldn't bring herself to answer. How could she explain that her baby sister had been kidnapped because of her? Her father called from the rehabilitation center, worried because Zoe had missed their scheduled video call. Amara lied. Said Zoe was studying for finals. Everything was fine. The words tasted like ash in her mouth. By nightfall, she was ready to crawl out of her skin. She stood at the window, staring down at Koreatown's neon lights, and wondered if she'd made a terrible mistake trusting Jayson. What if he couldn't get Zoe back? What if Victor had already... The door opened. Amara spun around, hope and terror warring in her chest. Jayson stood in the doorway. His white shirt had dark stains. His knuckles were split and bruised. Exhaustion lined his face. But behind him, alive and shaken but whole, was Zoe. Oh my God! Amara rushed forward, pulling her sister into a fierce embrace. Zoe, are you hurt? Did they... I'm okay. Zoe was trembling, tears streaming down her face. I'm okay. He saved me, Amara. What's happening? Who is this man? Why did those people take me? Shh. You're safe now. Amara held her tight, her own tears falling freely. You're safe. Over Zoe's shoulder, she met Jayson's eyes. Thank you, she mouthed. His expression remained unreadable, but something flickered there, something that looked almost like relief. Zoe needs to see a doctor, he said quietly. Woo Jin's arranging it, and then his gaze hardened. We need to talk, all of us. An hour later, after a doctor had examined Zoe and pronounced her physically unharmed, if emotionally traumatized, the three of them sat in the living room. Zoe kept staring at Jayson like he might attack at any moment. Start from the beginning, she said. Her voice was quiet but steady. And don't lie to me this time, Amara. I deserve to know why I was kidnapped. So Amara told her everything. The loan, Victor Crane, the Petrov syndicate, meeting Jayson at the auction, the protection arrangement, all of it. Zoe listened in growing horror. You made a deal with someone like him? Her voice rose. Are you insane? I was desperate. Dad would rather die than have you sell yourself to criminals. She turned to Jayson, cold fury in her eyes. And you? What do you really want from my sister? Some people would call Zoe brave for confronting a man like Jayson. Others would call her reckless. What do you think? Tell me in the comments. Jayson met her glare calmly. Because your sister reminds me of everything good I've lost in my life. Because she's brave and stubborn and refuses to break even when she should. His eyes shifted to Amara. Because watching her stand up to men like Victor makes me want to be better than I am. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. His voice softened. When Woo Jin told me they'd taken you, I knew I'd do whatever it took to get you back. Because you're hers. And what's hers matters to me now. Zoe's voice went flat. You killed him, didn't you, Victor? Silence stretched between them. Heavy, unavoidable. I removed a threat, and I would do it again. He put his hands on a 20-year-old girl to manipulate her sister. Men like that don't deserve mercy. And men like you get to decide who lives and dies? No. But I'm going to decide anyway, because that's the world I was born into, and I'm very good at surviving it. After he left, Zoe stared at Amara with a mixture of fear and accusation. You're in love with him. I barely know him. That's not what I asked. Zoe's eyes were too knowing. He just admitted to killing someone, and you looked at him like he brought you flowers. He saved your life by taking someone else's. The words hung between them. Heavy, unavoidable. This is wrong, Amara. All of it. You need to get away from him before you're in too deep. Amara met her sister's eyes. It's already too late for that. After Zoe finally fell asleep in the guest room, Amara found herself staring at her phone, at Jayson's contact information. Her finger hovered over the call button for what felt like hours. Every logical part of her brain screamed warnings. He was dangerous. He'd killed a man tonight. She should run as far and as fast as possible. But her heart had other ideas. She pressed call. He answered on the first ring. Amara. His voice was rough, tired. Are you okay? The question surprised her. I should be asking you that. You had stains on your shirt. Not my blood. A pause stretched between them. Does it bother you? He asked quietly. Knowing what I did tonight? Amara considered lying, considered saying, yes, it bothered her deeply, that she couldn't reconcile the gentle man who'd made her breakfast with the killer who'd saved her sister. But in the quiet darkness of her bedroom, honesty felt more important than comfort. It should bother me more than it does, she admitted, and that scares me. What does it say about me that I'm grateful? It says you're human. That you love your sister, that you understand sometimes force is the only language certain people speak. His voice gentled. You're not a bad person for being relieved Zoe's safe, Amara. Zoe thinks I'm in love with you. Silence. Then, are you? I don't know. The words came out barely above a whisper. How can I be? I've known you 3 weeks. Sometimes 3 weeks is enough. Another pause. She could hear him breathing on the other end. Could picture him sitting alone in his penthouse, bruised knuckles wrapped around the phone. I'm not good at this, he said finally, at feelings, at letting people in. But you've gotten under my skin in a way I can't explain. And tonight, when I thought about what Victor might do to Zoe if I didn't get there in time, His breath caught. All I could think about was how devastated you'd be, how I had failed to protect what mattered to you. You saved her, Amara said softly. I almost didn't. We were minutes away from— He stopped himself. I should have moved faster. Should have anticipated Victor would retaliate this way. This isn't your fault. Yes, it is. Everything I touch gets complicated, dangerous. A soft, bitter laugh. That's why I usually keep people at arm's length. But you make me want to pull you closer instead of pushing you away, even knowing it's selfish, even knowing I'll probably end up hurting you eventually. What if I'm willing to risk it? Then you're braver than I thought, or more foolish. Maybe both. She curled into the expensive pillows. Tell me something true, something you've never told anyone else. Why? Because I want to understand you, really understand you, not the crime boss or the protector or the businessman, you. He was quiet for so long she thought he might refuse. I'm terrified of failing, of becoming my father, a man who loved fiercely but wasn't strong enough to protect his family when it mattered. Every choice I make, every ruthless decision, every boundary I cross, it's all trying to outrun that fear, trying to become powerful enough that I'll never lose anyone again. But you've still lost people. Yes, my mother, friends, people I cared about. A breath. And because, in the end, power doesn't guarantee safety. It just guarantees you'll have more to lose. His voice dropped. And now I have you. Something else to lose. Something else to fail. You won't fail me. How can you be so sure? Because you made me a promise. And I believe you keep your promises, Jayson. Even the ones that cost you everything. After they hung up, she lay in the darkness and admitted the terrifying truth to herself. Zoe was right. She was falling for Park Jae-sun. And somewhere across the city, he was admitting the same thing. Subscribe now, because what happens next between them? It's going to change everything.
3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of authenticating rare antiques in Jayson's private office. 3 weeks of attending gallery events at his side. 3 weeks of late-night conversations and lingering touches, and tension so thick it was almost suffocating. They hadn't kissed, hadn't crossed any lines, but everyone could see what was building between them. Amara, Jayson's voice pulled her from examining a Joseon dynasty moon jar. We need to talk. Her stomach tightened. Those words never meant anything good. About what? About us. He stood, moving around the desk to lean against it. About where this is going. I didn't realize it was going anywhere specific. Don't play coy. You're too intelligent for that. His eyes held hers. We both know something's happening between us. Something that goes beyond business. And that's a problem? It could be. His expression grew serious. My world doesn't allow for weakness, and you, Amara Sinclair, had become my greatest weakness. He said it without apology, just stating fact. Which means you're also a target. There are people who would hurt you to get to me. Rival organizations, enemies I've made, even some within my own family who think you're a distraction. I can handle myself. I know you can, but handling yourself and surviving what's coming are different things. Amara moved closer, emboldened by weeks of growing trust between them. Then maybe you should figure out what you want, because I'm tired of this dance we're doing. This thing where we pretend this is just business when we both know it stopped being business the night you saved Zoe. Something shifted in his eyes. If we do this, his hand came up, fingers threading through her natural curls with reverent gentleness. There's no going back. You'll be mine, Amara, fully. And in my world, that comes with responsibilities, dangers, expectations you might not be prepared for. What if I want to be yours? The words came out barely above a whisper. What if I'm tired of being careful? What if I want to take the risk? Then you'd be braver than anyone I've ever met. His control shattered. He pulled her close with breathtaking intensity, one hand fisted in her hair as his mouth crashed against hers. The kiss was fierce, possessive, everything she'd been craving for weeks. She melted into him, hands clutching his shoulders as he kissed her like she was oxygen and he was drowning.
When they finally broke apart, both breathless, he pressed his forehead to hers. "I love you." The words were raw, vulnerable. "I've loved you since you looked me in the eye at that auction and told me you weren't afraid when we both knew it was a lie." "I love you too." The admission felt like flying and falling at once. "Even though you're dangerous, even though loving you means living in your world, I love you anyway." "Then stay in my arms." He echoed the words from that first night at the auction. "Not just until the threats pass. Forever. Stay forever, Amara." "Yes." She pulled him closer. "Yes to all of it." Later, he handed her a small box. Inside was a ring, a band of white gold engraved with Korean and English script intertwined. "Mine, yours." In my family, we don't do conventional marriages. We make promises, commitments that transcend paperwork and ceremonies. He slid the ring onto her finger. "This is my promise to you. You're mine and I'm yours, for as long as we both choose to honor that." Amara's throat tightened. "And if I want the paperwork too?" "Then we'll have that too. Whatever you want, however you want it." His lips curved. "I'm yours, remember? That means I follow where you lead." She kissed him then, pouring everything she felt into it. When they finally broke apart, she whispered against his lips, "Then hear me clearly. I choose you. Today, tomorrow, for as long as we have, I choose us." "Then stay in my arms," he murmured. "Forever this time." Forever. And she meant it. But forever, as they would soon discover, comes with a price. The question was whether they were ready to pay it. If you've made it this far without subscribing, I genuinely want to know, what's holding you back? Drop a comment. And if you're already subscribed, get ready, because the final chapter of their story is coming. And trust me, you're not prepared where it ends. 18 months later, Amara stood in the nursery of their Pasadena craftsman home. One hand rested on her rounded belly as she arranged Korean children's books on the shelf. Through the window, afternoon sunlight streamed across the peaceful neighborhood, a world away from the chaos that had brought her here. "You're supposed to be resting." Jayson's voice came from the doorway. She turned to find him leaning against the frame, devastating as always in casual clothes, a soft sweater, dark jeans, that smile that still made her heart skip after all this time. "I'm pregnant, not fragile," she said. But she let him guide her to the rocking chair anyway. Let him settle her into his lap like she weighed nothing at all. "Did Woojin finish the security system?" she asked. "Every window, every door, motion sensors in the yard." His hand found her belly, spreading protectively over where their daughter kicked. "This place is more secure than a fortress. Nothing will touch either of you. She's going to be so spoiled." "Good." His smile softened in that way it only did for her. "Her mother saved her father's life. That deserves some spoiling." Amara shook her head. "I didn't save your life. You did." He kissed her temple, gentle, reverent. "You saved me from becoming something irredeemable. Gave me a reason to choose mercy, to build something good instead of just something powerful." His arms tightened around her. "That's everything, Amara. That's more than I ever thought I'd have." Their daughter kicked again, hard enough to make them both laugh. Jayson spoke to her in Korean, his voice gentle as he promised to protect her, to love her, to teach her to be strong like her mother. "What are you telling her?" asked Amara. "That she's going to have your eyes and your courage." He met her gaze. "That she's going to grow up knowing her father isn't perfect, but he tries to be better, for her, for you." His thumb traced circles on her belly. "That her parents found each other in the darkest circumstances and chose to build light anyway." Amara's eyes stung. "You're getting sentimental." "Only with you." His lips found hers, still electric, still devastating after all this time. "Only ever with you." Later that evening, they hosted dinner for their unlikely family. Zoe had graduated UCLA and was applying to medical schools. She'd made peace with Jayson, slowly, reluctantly, after watching how he treated her sister, how he protected their family without ever asking for anything in return. Simone came with her new girlfriend, already planning to be the fun aunt who spoiled the baby rotten. Amara's father arrived with his caregiver, fully recovered from his stroke, healthy and happy in a way she'd almost stopped believing was possible. Even Elder Cho attended, Jason's uncle who had initially opposed their relationship. He brought traditional Korean baby clothes and offered stiff but genuine congratulations. Woo-jin stood guard by the door, but even he was smiling. As Amara looked around the table at all these people, the family they'd built from broken pieces, she felt overwhelming gratitude. This life wasn't what she'd planned. It was stranger, more dangerous, more complicated than anything she had ever imagined, but it was theirs, and she wouldn't change a single moment. Not the fear, not the danger, not the impossible choices, because all of it had led here, to this table, this family, this man who taught her that love could be fierce and gentle, dangerous and safe, all at once. If you've ever felt like your life was too messy to have a happy ending, let this be proof that you're wrong. Sometimes the most broken roads lead to the most beautiful places. Jason's hand found hers under the table. Their rings glinted in the candlelight, matching bands of white gold. Promises kept.
"What are you thinking?" he murmured. "That I'm glad I took your hand that night at the auction." She squeezed his fingers, even knowing everything it would cost, especially knowing that. His smile was radiant, the smile of a man who'd finally found what he'd been searching for his entire life. "Then stay in my arms," he whispered. Those words again, the ones that had started everything. "Forever, Amara. Stay forever." "Always," she promised. "Always and always." And she meant it. After dinner, when the guests had gone and the house was quiet, they stood together on the back porch. The lights of Los Angeles glittered in the distance. Their daughter kicked and rolled, restless as their parents. "I have something for you," Jayson said. He pulled out an envelope. Inside were documents, official papers with her name on them. "What is this?" "The deed to a building downtown. Prime location. Perfect for an auction house." His eyes held hers. "Your auction house, Amara. Fully funded. Legitimate. Yours to build however you want." Her breath caught. "Jayson, you dreamed of this. Before everything happened, before Victor and the debt and all of it." He cupped her face in his hands. "I want to give you back the future you almost lost. The one you deserve." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I don't know what to say." "Say you'll build something amazing. Say you'll let me stand beside you while you do." His thumb brushed away her tears. "Say you'll keep choosing me. Even when it's hard. Even when the world doesn't understand. I'll always choose you." She rose on her toes to kiss him. Soft, full of promise. "You're my forever, Jayson. You and our daughter and this beautiful, complicated life we've built." He pulled her close, held her like she was the most precious thing in the world, because to him, she was. 6 months later, their daughter was born. They named her Hana, a Korean name meaning one and first. Their first miracle, their proof that even the darkest beginnings could lead to the brightest futures. Amara's auction house opened to rave reviews, showcasing contemporary Korean and African American artists, building bridges between cultures the same way their love had. Jayson slowly shifted his business toward legitimate operations. It wasn't perfect, wasn't easy, but every day he chose to be better. For her, for Hana, for the family they built against all odds. And on quiet nights, when the baby was sleeping and the world was still, they'd stand together on the back window, looking out at the city that had tried to break them, the city they'd conquered instead. "No regrets?" Jayson would ask. "Not one," Amara would answer. And then he'd pull her close, kiss her forehead, whisper those words that had become their promise, their prayer, their forever. "Stay in my arms." And she always did. Some people spend their whole lives searching for a love like this. Others stumble into it in the most unexpected places. The question isn't whether you'll find it. It's whether you'll be brave enough to hold on when you do. If this story moved you, Subscribe now because there are more stories coming. Stories of love against the odds, of ordinary people in extraordinary circumstances, of choices that change everything. And if you're still not subscribed, I have to ask one more time, what's holding you back? Drop a comment. Let me know. Because wherever you are in your own story, I promise you this, it's not over yet. The best might still be coming.